What's going on, everybody? You've got the cardboard coach here with your boy, Coach Go. And team, today we've got a very special guest on the podcast here today. We've got Henny Benny, a.k.a. Garnet Sports Cards. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm good. For those of you just tuning in, my brain is short-circuited, so we're hoping that this episode isn't full of bumps. But I mean, you and I are gonna have a blast today. I'm excited. We've chatted for years on social media. Finally got to meet up at the National, and it was a lot of fun. You were set up, and I'm excited to hear about your stories because you've got some crazy ones, including pulling a massive Luca back in like 2018. You were breaking before breaking was cool, man. Before everyone and their brother was a breaker. So let's dive into that a little bit. So talk to me about we'll go into origin story, but like when did you start like making real moves in sports cards?
So, right around the summer of 2016, I was working at Target and I was sitting there, and my dad always told me that he would rather be, rich. Well, I'm actually having a short circuit myself. Look at that. So he would rather be broke and miserable than rich and happy. And that's something that I always kind of lived by, because going to work every day and respecting that 9 to 5 hustle is something that my parents have instilled in me since day one. And I was sitting there, and a huge mentor of mine. Wow, my language is horrid already. Look at that, boys. I'm an electric factory. Let's get ready to rock and roll. So a huge mentor of mine was RBI, and still is RBI Crew 7. And I drove all the way out to St. Louis, Missouri, because I was literally at a stage of my life where I was like, I have no idea what to do, like whatsoever. And this is the one thing that I was really good at. So summer 2016, I went all the way out to St. Louis. I talked to RBI Crew 7, who's been a brother of mine since, oh my God, 2011. So I started on YouTube growing up in high school. I gained over 1,000 subscribers. A lot of my brothers and family come from that old community, and they really supported me and lifted me up. And the whole plan was to start Garnet Sports Cards and go into business for myself. And we started to do raffles on Instagram Live when that started to peak. And as we were doing raffles and as we were, breaking open boxes and opening up cards for people and stuff like that, things started to actually snowball into a huge and a bigger and bigger thing. So it was really a blessing. That's when it really started to move fast. And I caught a lot of that, amazing Patrick Mahomes gust of wind in 2017. And it all just went into a perfect plan since then. So 2017 was that big year where I needed to take the physical and also manifest this jump where it was time to start breaking more, and that's what I ended up doing. So 2017, that was the big year, and it was lucky because it was great classes.
There's not a lot of people you can talk to that were breaking during 2017. Patrick Mahomes, you got Jason Tatum on the other side. 2018,
Yeah.
you have Josh Allen. You know what I mean? You got Luca. It's much more common to hear stories about people ripping in like 2020, 2019, like the Zions. But like the people who caught that first wave in 2017, 2018, like talk to me about some of those hits, man. Like what were like some of the things you were pulling? And what were the prices like? What were the box prices?
I wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that so bad. So when I was getting, boxes from our distributor and looking at prices, like, for example, Prism at the time. So if you wanted to get like I think it was 24-pack box, a retail box of Prism from, like, let's say Jason Tatum year, that would only be like $195 as like a giant retail box. Now the hobby stuff was ranging anywhere between like $500, $600, $700, and obviously as release grew, it went up a little bit. But Prism hobby boxes, they would never eclipse more than $1,000. I remember when Ben Simmons was really popping off, that product reached $1,200 a box. And I was looking at it like, oh my God, someone's going to end up pulling like, I don't know, someone's going to pull a future McDonald's worker and someone's going to be really upset, for $500, $600, $700. Now it's like you open up a box, you'll get Yuta Watanabe or someone else that definitely doesn't deserve an NBA uniform, and you're sitting there like, wow, I just spent 18 grand on this box of cards. But back then prices were so down, and it was actually amazing to see the rookie class end up making you profit because of just how good they were. So like when you would open up basketball products, you would have Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, let's say in 2017, and guys like Josh Hart or Josh Jackson and stuff like that. Things would always carry the product. So you would end up pulling, let's say one of my favorite pulls that I had, I ended up pulling a Patrick Mahomes 2/5 National Treasures rookie auto. Now at the time that card was maybe like 2017, so $400. Same card during the boom, I think peaked at over like 16K and then went to 20 as like a BGS 7. So obviously things have all, kind of regulated, but at the same time, pulling those cards and screaming heat check for customers and getting all excited, dude, like literally, like you said, going from Mahomes to then Allen and Lamar to then 19 with Kyler, those were like the golden years of breaking. I remember Card Collector 2, myself, Noe, who South Texas Breaks, I love him to pieces. Like that was literally the crew on Instagram for breaks. That was about it. Other than that, it was you go on to any single blog site. But yeah, man, it was the Wild West before the Wild West really hit cards. I got to be honest with you.
That is wild. And so talk to me about, what, so now we go into like origin story, right? So like 2016, you don't really know what direction to head in. You had to see your buddy, and it's pretty clear that you want to jump on like the 2017 class, and that there's like a real need for the market, for something in the market, right? Like where does that even come from, right? Like why is sports cards even a thought in your mind in terms of like how to progress your life?
So growing up, like my dad introduced me into like kind of collecting like how he was when he was a kid, and it was going to Rite Aid or Eckerd's, if you guys remember that store, and going into your pharmacies and opening up packs of cards. And I remember opening up uh random packs all the way from Heritage to Sage Leaf, and I got hooked on it. And from seeing myself grow up and collecting guys like Ruben Randall and going the super hard, PC route, to then kind of experiencing, oh wow, I can actually make money on this, buy my PC stuff, and that's kind of like a self-affording hobby. So it was a blessing in that aspect, but it kind of pushed me when, you look around and you just, for me at least, I looked around and I'm like, I'm just not, I mean, you would obviously know this, brother, I'm just not normal. So
Yeah.
like, I didn't want to get a normal 9 to 5 and sit there and like be crapped out in a corner because, I got my boss looking over my cubicle and I'm ready to fucking implode, but at the same time, right, it was time for me to really experience something I was passionate about and going after my dreams. And that was sports cards. And from seeing the success that I had on YouTube and knowing that I can carry that over, pay some bills myself, I got to be honest with you, I would have never expected in all of my years to have been able to pay my bills, my parents' bills, all because of the people that are watching this. So I can't say thank you enough. And that's the reason why I'm really defensive when people try and fuck with people on Instagram in this hobby, in this community, because in all reality, if more people were to understand that the reason why people like myself, or I would consider myself, or guys like Card Collector 2, who's my brother, I love him to death, guys like you, Brendan, guys like, King of the Cards, all of my brothers, it wraps around a true community, and we all love you to pieces. I know I'm probably talking for you as well. So, the origin story really pushed into, in effect when I was looking at things and I'm like, you know what? There's money to be made out of this. if you're smart with investing, if you know how to clean and grade, and it was really time to push. So I ended up becoming more of a, oh, I'll do things, with cards for myself versus doing things for other people. So I was kind of leaving collecting and more so becoming a business. And with the help of guys, like I said earlier, RBI Crew 7, Car Collector 2 was huge. MC Sports Cards, my brother Mike, all those guys like that lifted me up, and I was able to end up breaking on Instagram Live. And throughout all those breaks, it just ended up becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. There was nights where, we called them nudie magazine days. So on Monday, I would end up getting all of my inventory in the mail, and I'd go out like Adam Sandler and twirl around and listen to music and start screaming and yelling like, boys, it's nudie magazine day, and start screaming heat checks. It's all about being different, being yourself. And I think that's something that is a lot different nowadays. If I have to be, putting my 2 cents in, I feel like everyone's trying to be cut from the same cloth, when in all reality, being different is what makes you successful. So the origin story definitely turned from, like, I don't know, it's like a Batman origin story, but I have parents,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a rough situation, but we turned it from, you know, going to card shows and going through the dollar boxes to then recording it and going on Instagram Live and talking more about, Instagram Live was like my podcast before podcast. So with me at least, I would try and educate people to the best of my ability to like remember what used to happen in cards, along with like where we once were. So I know a lot of people nowadays is they're all concerned about, people leaving cards, money leaving cards, and all these things, X, Y, and Z. But in all reality, if you invest defensively, like Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, guys like that, right? Patrick Mahomes, whoever you want to go after, and it's a smart situation where it's a game used patch auto or a rookie patch. Those are the things that you and I, or people who are like Benny, I want to invest. I want to have a entrepreneur business where I can go into cards and buy something for 80 and flip it for 100% profit. That can be done here if you do it the right way. And I feel like everyone nowadays is so focused on who the next big star is, versus you can still make money and do it more defensively and quicker defensively, in my opinion, than risking it all based off like dude, like Chet Holmgren, he looks like a French fry. I'm concerned. like guys like that concern me, like Najee Harris looks like he has bubblegum knees. I'm just concerned a lot of different people's viewpoints on investing, where it's like, man, oh man, I wish someone were there to tell me, like, Ben, like, stop buying Ruben Randalls. You know what I mean? like
Yeah.
like take that $1,000 that you just spent on like 80 different cards, and you can flip it into this, buy your favorite Ruben Randalls, and then still have money to pay the bills. So that's kind of where I wanted to be, and I also wanted to help out a ton of people. I feel like I'm like the Forrest Gump of cards. Long story short. So there's a lot of stories.
I love that. And we're here for story time. I mean, I think you're right. First of all, you provide like an interesting perspective in that, like, you're right. Everyone's kind of rushing to be the same person. Like, you look at the space, and the space has evolved considerably since you've jumped in. And, even from like,
Yeah.
let's say like early 2020 until now, you've got 3 full years in this space. And you kind of know who's running the show, who has acquired significant followings, who has built their brands up, right? And people almost look to those people and they're like, okay, what do they do right? I'm going to replicate it. But what those people did right was just kind of be themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like a perfect combination of being themselves, the right place, the right time, taking the right amount of risk, like there's so much in it. And I think a lot of people feel like they kind of like missed the boat. And I think that's why people gravitate towards
Bingo.
like following the same recipe, but it's not like baking where the recipe can't really be replicated again, right? So authenticity is key. I couldn't agree more. When it comes to I mean, I kind of want to talk a little bit about defensive investing, as you mentioned, buying in a defensive mindset, for instance. Like, I think a lot of people buy the hyper volatile stuff because they're impatient. I think a lot of
Right.
people, they don't want to, they're not ready to get in the mud. You know what I'm saying? They're not built for
Right.
that. There's
Right.
right. There's too much agony down there where it's slow, right? Like a lot of times
Oh
down there,
yeah.
it's slow. Like it's a process. And you talk about the process a lot. It's a process. And you might be holding this Mahomes and it goes up 15, 20%, and then it goes down
Right.
8%. And it's just not sexy though. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not
Right.
sexy. Like when for
Like
instance,
it doesn't give you that extra, wake up in the morning. I feel you
no,
exactly.
yeah, exactly, right? Like, and it's kind of I when it comes to like the fitness stuff, like a lot of people are like, oh, how should I lose weight? I'm like, just start by fucking walking. You know what I mean? Like, literally just walk. And they're like, oh, well, what else?
Huge,
I'm like, just walk. Like, just it. Like, stop telling like what else and what should I do here? And you're getting so wrapped up in the
bro.
big picture, and instead just focus on like what literally one step at a time, right? So I think I think everyone wants things way too quick. I don't think that they're willing to kind of put in the work. I've said this a million times. I think the hobby is very lazy whether that's like
Oh
education,
my
whether
god.
that's like like it's
Oh my god.
I don't know.
We
It's
can
just
go on for days about that subject as well. I feel like, when it comes to investing defensively, like I know everyone and their mother this off season, this football off season, they were all preparing for Sam Howell, including myself. And let's just use this for example, right? Mason Rudolph is now starting again for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was investing in Mason Rudolph when he was a rookie way back in the day, right? And I ended up making money off of Mason Rudolph. But there will still be people today, like you said, because it's sexy. They'll buy a Mason Rudolph RPA for $150, and when he has negative 80 yards and 14 interceptions, against the Bengals this Sunday, everyone's gonna be like, "Well, why didn't anybody tell me?" Well, we did tell you. Everyone's just so focused on I need to follow this influencer who told me, because he bought a ton of Sam Howell to buy Sam Howell. That's not the case. Let's do some research. Like you said, let's look at stats. The kid went to UNC. Is UNC a winner in football? I'm just a little confused. Yeah, they were ranked this year, but I'm pretty sure the last time I checked, UNC is a basketball school. So let's be honest with one another. When these prospects, quarterbacks especially, come out, you want to look at where they played, who they played with, you know, do they play in a dome? What style of offense do they play? What's their deep ball accuracy? All these things go to the wayside, I feel like, now in cards. And it's like everyone's still looking for that next Mahomes. And I see people spending already, thousands of dollars on Arch Manning. In my personal opinion, and let me know if you disagree, the boom is gone. So I don't really understand why we're spending 30K on 101 or more than that on 101 college autos of Arch Manning when there's Tom Brady rookie autos that are still affordable at like $2,000 for a 9 or an 8.5 press pass auto or whatever the circumstance may be, 3, 4, 5, whatever the circumstance may be. And it's liquid to the point where if you can't sell those cards, if we're talking about defensive investments, if you can't sell them, there's always someone out there that will end up letting you take that card, have them trade down on it. You get a ton of stuff and you'll end up profiting. There's so many different times where 9 times out of 10, I'll end up making money because of who the player is versus, and meaning like who the player is because of, the long list of accomplishments in their career versus someone like Chet Holmgren, which at any point, or Zion Williamson, he had like 11 points last night, but everyone loved Zion. I didn't like Zion. It was the same thing like that.
yeah.
Everyone wants that instant satisfaction. And I feel like the more research that you can do and also understand that the more defensive investments that you get into, the more money you will make and safer money you will make than risking it all going after that sexy little superstar that'll end up going for, 60% of what it once was because the team isn't good or the coach is bad or they won't win games and playoffs. Like I remember way back in the day, like for example, if you ended up pulling a Jason Tatum RPA and today he pops off for a triple double, that card and all of the rest of his stuff goes up, and now it just kind of settles.
Yes.
At least from what I've seen with a
Yeah.
lot of different stuff, it just like all of a sudden someone goes off for like a month and it'll go like boop and then back to normal.
Yeah.
Or if someone's really bad, it just goes way down. So, in my opinion, instead of risking, and listen, I think Tatum is going to end up being a Hall of Famer. That's just my 2 cents. It's a Benny hot take for you. Okay. Shout out my
Love it.
Missouri boys out there. Love Jason Tatum. But at the same time, there's a lot of guys out there that I don't want to wait another 10 years to see if they're going to be Hall of Famers. And
Yeah.
old school collecting and investing in cards, it was really more so a sense of if the guys are really bad and they're backups, those are the guys that you want to pick up for $1, $2 for autographs. Literally, like I remember Nate Sudfeld popped off and he was a dollar contenders auto, and then literally the day after he popped off, those shot up to $250 a piece
Yeah.
before the boom,
Yeah.
way before the boom.
Yeah.
So I feel in my heart if more people were to understand that, yeah, like everything's going to go down here and there. There's always going to be a sale that pops up that someone's not going to like. But at the same time, if you put more of your eggs in a safer basket, you won't have a bunch of nasty yolk on your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
For sure.
I feel like that's huge. I feel like that's huge.
I agree with you. I mean, I recently saw like slab stocks posted that like frowning or sorry, Browning. I don't know why I said frowning. Browning, his like
Yeah, Jake Browning.
Prism draft picks auto sold for like $450, and like those things were selling for like $8 all day. And like we're talking about a Prism draft picks card. This guy is a backup quarterback. The minute Joe Burrow's healthy, that man is out of the job. Do you know what I mean? Like
Gone.
at best they make the playoffs. Like what's the ceiling here? You know what I mean? Realistically, like who's buying that at 450 and thinks that they're gonna make money? Like that's the questions I ask myself when I see a
Well,
sale like
those are
that.
the people. Those are the people that were to sit in their cars at 5 a.m. snorting Xanax, getting ready to rip retail off the shelves at Walmart, Target, Tesco, wherever you're at, geographically, wherever you're at, pick a supermarket. They're out there trying to wait for Flux Retail. And, everyone and their mother, they came in trying to say, I have 80 boxes of Chronicles basketball retail boxes. Let me try and put my fingers in your butt and try and dig money out of your pockets. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where the hobby was at. It really reminded me of the whole sneaker community at a time because of how toxic that community is and was. And it kind of created a sense where I remember, bro, oh my Lord, thank God this is an unfiltered, uncensored podcast for Benny. I would go on Instagram, my boy. I'm like having trauma flashbacks. I'd go on Instagram and you'd have collectors taking their girlfriend, wives, people they paid on the corner of the street, whoever they found, and take Zion PSA 9 base prism slabs and put them on their boobs. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't go around card shows wearing a trench coat, female, male, whoever, asking kids, do you want to see what's underneath my trench coat? And there's a Charizard PSA 10. What's happening? I'm confused. And it's the same thing as Jake Browning. What's happening? He's over here screaming, that's why you shouldn't have fucking cut me. Bro, you were, hold on, let me get this straight. I don't even think he's a backup. I'm pretty sure when he started this season, he was a third string quarterback. So
He was.
let's relax, Jake, and understand that you got an opportunity that you did a lot with. And once, like you said, Joe Burrow comes back, you're back in the crib with a bottle in your mouth. So, like, I don't think people understand, like, just because someone succeeds in 3, 4, 5 games in this NFL season doesn't mean they're going to be Brock Purdy. It doesn't mean they're going to be Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. The list goes on. And it's actually thinning out at quarterback. Because if you, were to really look back in time at Trevor Lawrence, right, at how high his market was to now where he's at now. What are the Jags going to do?
It's
He's
still
been
high.
through
I think
coaches.
his stuff is still high. Like I
Me
remember in the off
too.
season, there was like no dip. And I was like, I don't understand.
None.
I'm like,
It went up.
can someone explain to me why these cards are so expensive? Because like I don't understand. Like, yeah, the Jags are a pretty good team and he's a pretty good quarterback, but he's won one playoff game and they snuck
Yeah.
in, like I was like, they're in a tough division. I'm like, I don't it beats me. I don't understand.
The problem is that it's the fear of missing out. It's people who are going to sit here and tell everyone else buy player XYZ because I have a large platform and didn't do the research and I need to protect my investment versus back in the day it was look at what this player did in college. This was the system that he ran in college versus the system he has in the NFL. Who's the NFL coach? Are they likely to win a playoff game? Are they likely to win a Super Bowl? Is he likely to win MVP? Like, I feel like all of those questions have now been crumpled up and someone did a step back Kobe shot and cranked that into a trash can. And it just doesn't work that way. The problem is nowadays, a lot of people are losing money or have lost money because they're buying 18th year logo mans of LeBron. Take that LeBron logo man money or take that Zion Williamson National Treasures RPA money or take all these other crazy things that people are now. Obviously, listen, if you're buying a LeBron logo man, you have a lot more money and a lot less things to worry about than I do. So I respect that, but my main point is instead of looking at what's glitz and glamour or at what's shiny, right? Let's look at what's already been proven and what's been done and what can be done going forward. So obviously, if Tom Brady's retired and he can't win Super Bowls anymore, who are the players in NFL, in my opinion, people should be going after? Well, that's guys like Mahomes and Hurts. And I would even throw, like, if you want to play defensively, and a guy that I think that'll end up going up over time because he's really under sucks the situation he's in right now with Sean Payton and the Broncos. But Russell Wilson's stuff is disgustingly cheap. He's a Super Bowl winner. I mean, what do we have to talk about? Like Joe Flacco stuff is disgustingly cheap. Like
I agree with you.
$15.
I agree.
And I'm like, I'm sitting here like,
I got a Flacco X Fractor for $1, bro. Like, and it was like, I was like, what?
Bro, what?
I'm like, like we're talking about like a short printed parallel. Like, I mean, it's nowhere near printed like it is now.
Bro.
I was like, this man is like actually vetted. You know what I mean? Like, and the same thing with like Cam Newton, like guys that actually won MVPs. I remember going into the season and being like, why are Lamar Jackson's prices so fucking cheap? I'm like, this guy's actually won an MVP though. Do you know? Like, he's still playing. He was like 22 years old when he won his MVP. Like
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
And he has a better offense.
But Sam Howell is like 3, 4, 5, 6x this guy. I'm like, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. Jalen Hurts just went to the Super Bowl, and he would have won. He would have won MVP if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes. You know, same thing. I'm like, I don't.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Make it make sense.
100%, bro. It's literally in a situation where, well, and the way I try and let people kind of come to their own conclusion with this whole situation, and a lot of people will be like, well, you're negative this, and we want positive then, and we want positive collecting. That's what I'm here for, and that's the reason why I get negative in senses like this, where it's like, well, Ben, why are you telling us to what to do with our money? That's not what I'm doing. But when people want to sit around and be like, oh, the hobby's dying, or the community's dying, or X, Y, and Z, who are you listening to? Who are you watching? Are you focused on yourself? Because those are the most three important things to me. Like if you're not watching what you're doing, if you're not focused on yourself, and if you're not really, really looking at how to keep growing yourself as a person, as a business, whatever you're looking to do in life, if you're not constantly changing, you will be changed. It's as simple as that. So I feel like, people want to say, well, you guys are being negative, why does it matter to invest? I miss old cards. I do too. But at the same time, we have everyone and their mother nowadays trying to tell people who just came in the hobby, or were the same people with a lot of money who were snorting Xanax trying to pick up retail flux, the same people I was talking about earlier, in those Walmart lots at 5 a.m. It's all of the same people, whether it's new people or old people in this hobby. Sometimes reminders are needed where it's like, this is where cards used to be. Like, I remember when certified basketball and football, dude, that was a less than $150 box of cards, but now people are selling them for, like, I don't know what the MSRP is now to this point, but I remember people were selling them for like $600 and you would never get your money back out of it. You
Yeah.
would never get your money back out of guys like uh, Josh Jackson in the NBA, or get money back out of guys like Kenny Pickett or Josh Rosen in the NFL. And it was always because people were trying to fix that fear of missing out, to change the money in their lifestyle because they saw someone with a Patrick Mahomes rookie patch auto. They sold it and bought a house and they want to be just like them. It just doesn't work that way sometimes.
I,
And that's where it goes back to my last point, before I want to hear what your beautiful golden voice has to say. It goes back to the point where cards used to be the Wild West. It's just not that way anymore. It just isn't.
I agree with you. I mean, I had to provide a little perspective on Instagram today. I'm like, enough is enough. Like over the last few days, obviously the Topps situation where they printed double super, they printed what they normally do. Okay. And then an employee stole the ones that were meant to be destroyed, which happens quite frequently. And so I had to make a video and be like, hey, listen, guys, because there were people in the comment section being like, the hobby is dead and
Oh my God.
Fanatics is fucking up. And I'm like, do you understand that this has been happening forever? This has literally been happening forever. Like, I know that you guys feel like everything is only going wrong right now, but I'm not saying it's okay that it happened, and I'm not saying that like it's okay that it keeps happening. But what I'm saying is that the hobby has been through shit like this. The hobby will continue to go through shit like this. Hopefully, less of it happens. But if you're gonna stand here or sit on your keyboard and tell me that the hobby is dead because someone stole superfractors from a facility and then sold them on eBay like an idiot, all 27 on the same day. Like, I can't possibly believe you. Like, you're nuts. I don't agree with you. The hobby is not dead. The hobby will never be dead. The hobby has survived Bill Mastro. The hobby has survived fucking countless people trimming cards.
A lot.
PSA's inception, PSA with the first card they ever graded was a fucking trimmed Honus Wagner, so like, look where they are, so like, I think that we all kind of need perspective sometimes, and oftentimes this perspective is labeled as like negative, and you're like, I'm for the hobby. I am very much for the hobby, like,
it's being real.
If people want to fucking rip. I tell people all the time, one of the dumbest things you can do is rip. Financially speaking, dumb. All right. Now, if you want to do it, I'll tell you which breakers I stand by. Like I'll continue to remind you. I don't think this is a great idea, but if that's what you want, if that's your itch, people are like, do you break? I'm like, no. They're like, well, you talk about filth bomb. I'm like, oh, who the fuck cares? You want to break? You break. That's fine. I set collect. I'm not telling anyone else to set collect. Do I think it's a good idea? I think it's a great idea because I think somewhere out there, someone's trying to assemble the same sets as I am, but it's just funny. I think we all need perspective. I think, and I think that the fact that you've been in the hobby in such a, prominent role, for as long as you have versus, I mean, some of these other people, and different segments of the hobby, I think is important because I think, people just don't really have that perspective. I mean, there's probably a reason why you don't still rip, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
bro.
Or you don't break as much. Like, there's a reason for all this shit.
I think it's time to talk about those reasons. And some people may be like, some people may not be ready. Some people may be new. This is a Ben rant. So this is for your entertainment only. All right. And it's real and it might hurt feelings, but I'm here for it, and I'm here to give you a hug and a kiss on the forehead and to tell you everything will be all right. I promise. Uncle Benny's here. I'm like Uncle Buck, man. I'm here to make pancakes. So, I got to be honest with you guys. The fact that everyone and their mother wants to break, and everyone and their mother wants to be in front of the camera, and everyone and their mother wants to do the same exact thing that everyone and their mother has already done, and people want to be the same characters that people have created. I've seen it time and time again. I've been in this hobby in the I would say more updated side of the hobby for over a decade now, because back in 2012 it was still Beckett mags and going on YouTube and seeing who's going to make a PC showcase and sit there and comment. Now it's, how much money can you make, and how can you invest wisely, and following economic trends and doing all the things that now 14-year-old collectors back in 2012, everyone was worried about, oh my God, can I get a Cam Newton patch auto for Christmas? And now everyone's like, how can I sign up for an LLC for Christmas? Like, I'm happy that the growth is there and that people are becoming, their own businessman, and they're going after their dreams, and they're understanding that every day that you wake up and do something that you love, it's better than working in a cubicle, which is a prison cell. So I respect that 9 to 5 grind, and I respect everyone putting as much effort and work as they have into this hobby since the boom happened in 2020, all the way up until now where things started to settle out. But if I am being real and honest, as always, I am so sick and tired of this cookie cutter crybaby bullshit where everyone wants to cry about, why isn't it happening for me? I'll tell you why it's not happening for you, because you are not doing anything different that will make you successful. And you can be like, well, Ben, what do you mean by that? Okay, well, if collector XYZ, pick a successful person, right? If they're on Whatnot and they have a certain following on eBay and they do everything else, right? That doesn't mean you have to do everything like they do. That means you can find your own niche. You can go after your own side of the hobby. You can use a podcast. You can, be a grader and clean cards for people's, grades and do different things. And now that the hobby has kind of leaned out where there's no more raffles anymore. You're not going to find anyone on any given night going on Instagram Live or any other different website providing that to you. And now it's more so streamlining everything to eBay and making money on there. And now you have to go to card shows and buy at 65% so you can make your little nut. And then all of a sudden, everyone's sitting there like, I made 16% ROI. Congrats. Let's talk about where we should be at, in my opinion. And where we should be at in this hobby to this day, in my opinion, is lifting everyone else up and is not focusing on someone that just came out of the woodworks in 2020 who's still probably licking the same window behind me. They're huffing glass. They're like that huffer fish at the doctor's office, the one that's like on the glass, the one the scary one, you see their whole insides. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near those people, man. I really don't. Or the people who would wait in line at Walmart or Target to then screw over young kids of the hobby who want to open up a retail box, but because you have 80 Chronicle NBA blasters, you're a cool guy. Not to me. No, you're a loser. That's just my whole perspective on it, because the more you want to screw over the person standing next to you, the more you don't want to be different, and the more you want to complain, cry about the success that is given to other people and not yourself. Those are the people that you have seen leave the hobby, and that's the blessing that we have gotten. Because everyone's so worried about, oh my God, I looked at the card ladder index and it's down 23%. Bro, shut the fuck up. Enough. No more. I don't want to hear anymore. I hear this card went down 23% this quarter. Like, we're talking about fucking stocks. Well, if we're talking about stocks like how cards are supposed to be, like how everyone wants cards to be, it's the stock market. You don't want it to be the stock market. It will get regulated.
Then
everyone's going to be like, oh,
I agree.
What happened? What happened to collector influencer man who told me to invest in Andre Drummond? Well, he's in jail now for insider trading. Oh, Look at that. People don't understand. Like, focus on yourself and you will find the people who love you and want to support you. And that's why I'm so blessed, because I really feel like I'm 28, man. I'm a short, curmudgeon, real as fuck, love everyone to death motherfucker. And that's just who I will always be. I'm like young Danny DeVito, man. I look like a gnome. Like, if you took my head and put it upside down, I'd have hair on both sides of my head, okay? I'm with it. That's who I am. I want to see other people succeed, honestly, genuinely and truthfully, versus sitting there like, ah, he made $10,000 and posted it on YouTube. I gotta hate on it. Or my beautiful mustache friend. I saw the hate comment video. Everyone who hates on you, kiss my ass from the backside. I love you to death. Cheers. It's Uncle Benny, and will always be and forever will always be Uncle Benny. And I really feel like if people were to say to themselves, I can do it and envision it, manifest it, and generate it, there wouldn't be any questions on who should I invest in, research, take the time out. If you're in baseball, slab stocks, and other people like that have wonderful perspectives, there's podcasts to listen to. There's tons of people giving a ton of information out for free since the dawn of time, and people will still sit on their hands until they're completely numb and say, why isn't it happening for me? Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why. I really wonder why. Let's be honest, okay? The reason why it's not happening to you is because you're fucking lazy. And I was lazy too. I used to be 440 pounds and I used to walk and I lost 260. I'm finding a little bit of that weight back. You know, Benny likes his cookie brownies, but I'll be honest with you here, okay? Anything can be done if you put the work and time into it.
Yes,
So
sir.
stop focusing. And my last point on this aspect, stop focusing on everyone else. Worry about yourself in all things in life, whether it's personal or in cards. But the way you can be successful in cards nowadays, bro, I would have never envisioned it. And I'm so happy to see where the hobby is at, because it's so honestly beautiful to see where things have finally, I said, I'm lost at words for
Bro,
it, to be
you can
honest with
literally
you. I'm
go to
so
a card
happy.
show. You can literally go to a card show in the not so distant future and see fucking Tom Brady. Like,
Yeah.
if someone were to tell you that, like 3 years ago, 5 years
I
ago,
feel
like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, yo, you go to a card show, you see Meek Mill or fucking Lil Baby, like
Bro, Derek Jeter. Like,
Allen Iverson regularly. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I don't. That's why I go and I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Like, I go into these shows sometimes and I'm just like, this is a dream for me. Like, past like kid me would be like, what the fuck did
oh
you do to
yeah.
get here? You know, like, what did you do to
A
get
hundred
here?
percent.
And I'd say I just collect cards. Like, I do what you liked doing, and I just like managed to pick it back up, and here we are. Like, it's fucking
Yeah.
nuts. And to your point, like, kind of staying in your lane, and I'm kind of humbled because I got really humbled when I jumped back in. I jumped back in 2020, like, seriously. Before that, I was like, I'd collect soccer stickers. So I did like
Oh hell yeah.
every fucking
The panini sets.
every tournament we did the books. McDonald's hockey cards, Tim Hortons hockey cards. I always set collected. And we didn't really spend a ton of money on sports cards. It was like my mom collected sports cards actually, and she was all about
That's
set
sick.
collecting. And so, it was like not a lot of money if like we went to McDonald's and we like, they were like $1 pack. You get 3 cards and she'd get like 5 of them every time she went for me. She'd come home with like 5 packs, right? And that's kind of what my collecting was like in terms of sports cards. Jump back in 2020. I see everybody making, crazy money off basketball and football
Oh
and
my god.
baseball. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Like, I remember thinking like, oh, I wish I could have a Luca, right? Like, I was like, man, I wish I had a Luca right now. And then I pulled myself out of that, and I was like, hold on a second, like, you just want that because everyone else kind of has that, right? And like, that's like the most
Correct.
desirable shit. And I saw like most of the hype, like people were like, they'd repost Lucas, and like all the cards that were being reposted, they'd be reposted for a day, and then after that, no one
Mm.
gives a fuck about it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's interesting because, if you chase those likes, you're going to be in the hole and no one's going to be there with you. They might love you today, But tomorrow, when you have to sit with that card, 6 months from now, when you have to sit with that card, they're going to be looking at you like you're a fucking idiot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I was like, I couldn't get in on retail. I couldn't get in on boxes. Canada was fucking locked down. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to lean into the shit.
Oh yeah, I heard.
I'm going to lean into the shit that I'm good at. I'm good at hockey. I know a fuck ton about hockey. I know AHL. I know drafts. I was like, you know, there's like a 3-year kind of like a delay when the card comes out and the kid actually starts playing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck it. I'm going to wait. I'm going to jump in on certain players and like guys that haven't quite like made their peak. Everyone was buying Laffies for $500. I was like, you're fucking
Oh
crazy.
my God.
I was like, I'm like, you're crazy. I'm not buying Laffies. I'm not going near Laffies. I was buying Ovies. I was like, I'm like, let's do this smart, you know? And I didn't make a fucking fortune, but I made enough to fuel like my PC. And to your point in the beginning where you're like, you know, a lot of your buying and selling goes towards buying bigger cards later for yourself, essentially. And those are like investment pieces, right? Like, and so that's kind of like, I'm like, I've actually created a situation now where I can use my knowledge on prospecting and on like, this guy's been injured. Gabe Velarde, I have been buying
Dude,
Gabe Velarde nonstop. Do you know that? Nonstop in the
he's
offseason.
a king.
I have screenshots. I have like, bro, I was buying this
I
guy like,
salute you.
I was buying him like crazy. He comes back. Kyle Connor gets injured. I'm like, this is beautiful. I'm just waiting.
Oh, dude.
Guys
The
had
fact that he got
nine points
traded.
in 3 games. 9 points in 3 games. I just sold a cup that I bought like 5 weeks ago for $60. I sold it for like 155. Not crazy, but like you're talking about
That's
like
amazing.
3x in like 5 weeks, right? Like so
Oh
I'm like
yeah.
I can use that and then put that into something I actually want. And that's kind of like everyone has
That's
the ability to do this, right? Everybody has
perfect.
the ability to
Yeah.
do this. Everyone has the ability to know the sport, to know the players, to put in the work, to know exactly what to buy. It's just a matter of like, do you want to put in the time and energy in order to do it? If the answer is no, then you will never be successful, no matter how much boxes cost, no matter how much the quality control is shit now, no matter how
Oh
bad
yeah.
no matter how bad the PSA graders fucking were, or you know, like how expensive it is to on-site grade at the national, no matter what those fucking things are, you will never be successful. Period. You know? So
Yeah.
that's my fucking rant.
And that's what I love about you, brother, because we share a lot of viewpoints that are the same. And that goes to the point that I was talking about earlier. You were defensively investing and provided yourself with another investment based off of the success of your prior ones.
Yeah.
And that's what I really, the full gist of it, that's what it is. It's, what would you rather have? Would you rather have Alexis Lafreniere, who will probably be shaking that Laffy Taffy down here on the corner soon? He'll be in the AHL soon, like my man Biz. I love my boy Biz Nasty, but he's going to be
playing
there with
okay.
him. But
He's
you
playing
know,
okay this year, man. He's playing
I know,
okay.
but I
He's
still
playing
hate. I
okay.
still
I
hate
know. I
on
know.
him.
I know.
I
I
still
know.
hate on him. I gotta give love to my other boys like Jason Robertson out there. Some guys that completely switch. Kale McCarr, guys that completely changed everything. Jack Hughes looks like he's Captain America now, and I love it. You know,
Yeah.
I love hockey to pieces, and I really feel like the blessing that really came out of the boom was that all of the other markets got love finally. Like I'm sure you would have seen that with soccer too. Like
Yeah, but
if
it
we're
made me
being
not want to buy it though. Do you know what I mean? Like it,
right,
because
right,
like I'm like, this doesn't make any sense though. Like I will say that there are things that came out where I was like, wow, I've never seen that before, and like it
yeah,
kind of gave me more of a direction on kind of what I want. But I was looking at some of these players and I'm like, I can't imagine spending $2,000 on a guy who's never played.
oh,
Like I can't prospect. I still can't prospect in soccer because the
oh,
fucking
bro, the
prices of
last
these
time,
guys are so expensive. I'm like, this guy has
the
to win
last
Ballon
time.
d'Ors in order for this to justify this fucking price.
Do you remember Joao Felix,
Of course, he's a Portuguese.
bro, bro? Oh man, I loved him to pieces, and I was like, he's gonna be amazing. And who was he playing with? Was it? Ronaldo at the time.
He went.
I think it was it Ronaldo?
He. What do you mean? He went to Benfica and then he got sold to. Oh, where did he go from Benfica?
What was that? I'm ignorant with soccer. What was
That's okay.
that? I think it was Portugal team play, and it
Okay.
was like it wasn't World Cup, obviously, but stuff like that. But
No,
anyway, moving
it
on.
might have
Like
been. It might have been the Euro.
2019, 20.
Yeah. Yeah. It might
Yeah,
have been
there you go. Perfect. So they were playing together,
or Nations League. One of
and
those two.
we had one of those two. I got to get smartened
That's
up with
okay.
soccer, man. I'm like
No, it's
I'm
gonna
over
be
here calling
gonna
it.
be in the United States soon, bro. You guys have to get smartened up.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm gonna be going to all those damn World Cup games, streaking on the field. People are gonna be scarred for life. They'll be like, Uncle Benny, please put it away, please. But but more so speaking on it, like guys like Joao Felix, where I remember his Topps Chrome base PSA 10, that was a $700 card, $20 now, I think. Like, what happened? And it's kind of the same thing with hockey, where the best thing, in my opinion, now I know everyone likes to complain, everyone hates player worn, and everyone doesn't want, you know, person X to succeed because they have a different viewpoint than them, but they don't understand that that's just life. But moving on, whatever it could have been, all the negatives that people could have with the boom in cards, in my opinion, the best thing that has happened is that I got a whole bunch of new brothers and sisters out of that. I also have seen markets, like I said earlier, like actually grow. Hockey, I love hockey to pieces, man. And seeing cards actually get the love that they deserve, and see that you can still, like you said, you can buy something for $60 like Gabe Velarde and flip it for 150. That's still out there. And in my opinion, sports like hockey, soccer, MMA, those still have the market of old, the 2017 to 2019 market, where you could buy in at $30 and sell it at 200. Where nowadays, if you were to buy something for $30, it's like an undrafted rookie, and that's as much as your money's going to stretch, and they're going to be already out of the league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like in MMA, soccer, and hockey, because of the boom, it put more of a spotlight onto those sports. And now we're able to actually collect and actually get some money back from collecting. Like, I'm a huge Jason Robertson guy. I was on him from day one. I sold him sneakers back in the day. Love him to
Really?
pieces. Yeah, man. I was a huge, huge sneaker guy back in the day.
Really?
Who
He
else?
was
Who
he was a third
else?
he was a third rounder, so he wasn't even on people's radar.
Nobody's, bro. Nobody's. Cole Caulfield, obviously huge
That's
higher
my
pick than Jason Robertson.
that's
I
my
love
guy
Cole
though. That's
Caulfield.
my guy.
He's a good dude. I sold him sneakers before as well too, way back in the day. Well, mainly to their parents, and I would end up meeting these players' parents from card shows, bro. From
That's
card
wild.
shows that they would visit down in Massachusetts, or over when I would go out to Chicago or wherever I were to be. And I still remember to this day, and it's the craziest thing. You know that baseball prospect? Well, now he's in the league, but Hunter Green.
Yeah.
Hunter Green collected cards, and he just walked over me one day. Everyone in the building's following him, and I'm like, "Who is this guy looking at my case?" And my boy Jared's like, "Dude, that's he's like the number one prospect." I'm like, "Oh, I'm ignorant." So, Rex Ryan collects vintage, like all these different markets from the boom. It's a blessing. Vintage has not died in a hole. Like, you're actually seeing the market go up, as it should, because the cards are 100 plus years old. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of benefits that happen from this boom. But I think the number one thing, like how you touched on earlier, is don't be stuck in that group of fear of missing out. Collect what you want to collect. Be happy with your investments. Understand the more research and time you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. That's what happened with me. And honestly, the more time and research you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. But also sometimes that luck, and it kind of goes back to that whole Wild West side of things, where I was telling people, like, the times are gone where you could go on Instagram Live and make $250 off of buybacks and raffles. Or the reason why I don't break anymore is because I don't want to be a used car salesman. I don't want to have to sell you, who I love dearly, on why you should buy a box so I can profit on it and you lose all your money. I can't do that. Like, morally, I can't. And I know that if you want to rip, that's your objective. And I love ripping. I miss breaking every day. I miss screaming heat check and getting all excited. And honestly, like, you had someone on your podcast. I forget his name, but I love the content they make. They do comps on break prices.
Break comp. Yeah. Or comp break.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Comp break. Yeah. So I love what he's doing, because what I would always try and do is if I get something from a distributor and its MSRP on blowout is 125 a box, I'm trying to hit 120. I'm not trying to hit, like, there's these people that would one box breaks or group breaks or whatever, and it's like you end up breaking it down, and let's say it's an NBA product, so there's 30 teams in there, and they're doing a one box break, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, why are you charging $30 a spot, 30 spots? The box costs 125. I can't do that anymore. So, and never did I ever, because that's just, anyway, I might touch on it, but moving on. So, you know, we're going to keep things positive, baby. Positive. I'm learning, but, you know, if I'm being real and honest, you know, instead of worrying about all these other different things, play more defensively versus going after offensive investments. Really, really build one another up. Understand, like, listen, bro, like, if I didn't have you, Brendan, and guys who love me to pieces, I don't know where I'd be today, because I'll be honest with you, like, it's really a family to me. It's a real close-knit brotherhood that I think a lot of people are overlooking because they're so focused on how much money they can make off of you or me or him or her. And it's like, instead of, yeah, everyone's going to make profit, but what happened to the deals where it was 50-50 and both sides made money?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, oh, you want my card, so you have to give me, you know, your soul, your mom's car. You can't go outside for 2 weeks. Like all these different things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
like, instead of doing that, you know, why don't we build one another up, and why don't we research, and why don't we play defensively versus listening to someone say, like, for example, like, if someone were to ask me, Ben, who should I invest in? I'm going to say, I'm not going to tell you that because I don't want you to lose money. And if they're still persistent, I'm going to sit there and be like, well, look at who's succeeding right now. And it's never the answer they're looking for, because they're like, well, why did you tell me to invest in Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes? Why not? Like, Jalen Hurts can have 17 interceptions all he wants, 17 turnovers, whatever the case may be. I'll still throw money into him versus Victor Wembanyama. I'm just sorry. Like, guys like I'm all set. Like, I don't want to risk someone being 7'9" and have knees that are constructed from, you know, masking tape and bubble gum. Like, I'm all set. You know, I love
like
Wemby.
a Wemby hoops. You know what I mean? Like, that's it too, right? Where you're like,
Oh my
there's like
God.
such a rush to get like the first of something, where you're like, you need to try to figure out, or you need to remember that, like, this product or this card in this type of I mean, you know, hoops versus eventually when Prism comes out,
Prism,
like,
yeah.
you know, this card is gonna, even if he plays well, even if he performs well, it's gonna come down. Like, and so you
I
just have to be
always tell
reasonable
people,
about shit. You know what I mean?
100%. I always tell people, if you're so inclined to buy that hoops rookie Wemby right now, wait until April, because let's say it's 300 right now. In April, that card will be 45
I
bucks.
agree. I say it too. 6
Always.
months. Just
Yeah.
wait 6 months. Even if he has an amazing season, it's gonna go down. Like, it will go
Oh
down at
yeah.
some point. It will 100% go down. Whether it's because
Well,
other releases, whether it's because he has a bad stretch of games. He's a normal fucking
yeah.
person. Maybe people are just
Oh
bored of
yeah.
sports cards in the summertime. Like, it's normal, you know? Like, it's completely normal for that card
Bingo.
to come down a little bit, even if it comes back up at some point. But wouldn't you rather own it when it comes down Like buy it when it comes down, then buy it at the
Yes.
top. It's
That's
like,
what I'm talking.
like
Yes.
I don't know. But again, I guess there's like
We're
something
dropping dimes.
there's something to be said about owning it first, right? Like, I mean, it's like I said, the
Yeah, man.
Instagram flex, right? Like you get your one day in the sun and everyone's talking about you for a day. I'll never forget when that Mac Jones was bought, that $100,000 Mac
Oh
Jones.
my
And there was a
god.
when that kid sold
The
the
101.
when he yeah, when he
The
sold it,
101,
he
yes.
sold it for $100,000. I was like, that kid is a genius. I love that. The kid was like 13 years old, I think.
Yep.
Washed his hands, said see you later. Everyone's like, he should grade it. He should do this. I was like, buddy, sell that shit. Sell it.
100%.
$100,000 or like it could be worth 5. I'm like, I'm out, bro.
And that's the
I'm out.
greed.
$1 million
And
Justin
that's the
Herberts.
greed. And it goes,
$1 million
oh,
Justin
bro. And
Herberts,
that's the greed side of things.
I don't understand.
Bro, I'm telling you, like my biggest thing is that this hobby has shown me that if this era isn't the what have you done for me lately crowd, I don't know what era we're in. And I really honestly wholeheartedly feel that the more people were to actually sit down with themselves, right? And actually be like, okay, why do I need to be greedy and get 5 times more money out of a card, right? And yes, that's the smart business thing to do is to maximize your profit. I agree with that. Now let's really talk about it though. That kid sold that card for 100K. Mac Jones, like this goes to the research side. This goes into everything that we just talked about. If you were smart, and I'm not saying anyone's dumb, but if you were smart and you look at Mac Jones, right, and you look at his college stats and you watch games and you were actively in football watching things happen, right, you would understand that he came from Alabama. And the same thing that's happening when Mac Jones was playing at Alabama, the same thing's happening now, where they can't find a quarterback, but they have really good receivers and an amazing defense and a tremendous offensive line, and they're a beautiful, wonderful built team. And the reason why players succeed in those situations is because they're game managers. And a lot of people missed the boat on that and didn't really see or didn't really study or didn't really research. And they're still complaining that this kid sold it for 100K. Like you said, why wouldn't you grade it? It could be worth 500. But then all of a sudden, if he did grade it, and if it got stuck at PSA or stuck at Beckett, and all
Comes
the
back a
thing time
7 or
goes on,
something, you know what I mean? Like,
bingo,
bro, it's not even worth it.
bingo,
The
and it's
risk, like, it just it's this. You're right. It's the greed. Like, I'm willing to take like a 20% increase on a card. I say this all the time, all the time. I'm like, hey, listen, you want to give me 15% more than I paid for it? It's yours. You know, like depends on
oh
the card.
yeah,
Depends on the card, obviously, right? But like, if it's something that I actually means something to me, I'm like, I don't care. But if it's something that I'm like, I know someone's gonna wants it more, or I'm like, here's 15. You want to give me extra 15%? It's yours. 20%?
oh
It's
yeah.
yours. I'm not holding things for like 2, 3x. The Gabe Velarde thing is because there was no comps, you know, like, but I'm like,
Well, yeah,
I
but
don't. I'm like, I don't even need to
that's
hold it
King
for two or
Velarde
three
though.
x. You know, I'm like, have fun. You guys enjoy this. You are gonna have
Oh
fun.
yeah.
I'm good. And this way, I don't feel
Well,
like
like,
shit. You don't feel like shit. Everyone's good.
and that's the major thing of like helping yourself out and helping others out as well. And that's in my opinion what creates successful business and successful deals. And it creates long-term business for yourself because not only are you profiting and helping yourself out, you're helping the person out as well. And it kind of ties into my whole other thing about dogs, sheep, and pigs, where there's pigs out there, capitalist pigs who will want to stick their hands in your pockets and tell you a sad story or a delusion of grandeur story and give you this whole spiel on how you can make money. Follow me, drink the Kool-Aid and all these other different things. And then the sheep that follow the pigs, where it's like, oh, person XYZ told me to invest in Andre Drummond or told me to invest in Sam Howell or told me to invest in Kellen Mond. Oh my God. Or Josh Dobbs. Or the list goes on of quarterbacks that belong at Burger King or McDonald's. And all these different people are telling you to invest into Josh Dobbs or to invest into Nick Mullins or to invest into, oh my Lord, the Matisse Thybulle I mean, pick a sport and I can make a meme out of the player that people have told people to invest into. And it's not me being salty because people were happy and successful collecting, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's me seeing what people are doing to other people in order to benefit themselves. So I'm talking about dogs, sheep, and pigs in today's hobby, you will always have those people who are going to sell you like a used car and they'll say that nothing's wrong with it. Meanwhile, you open up the hood and it's like there's 4 rat nests, a cat lives in there along with a homeless man, and there's no engine block. And you're sitting there like, oh my God, is it a car or what? So there's always going to be those people in the hobby, and there's always going to be people, the sheep that follow them, but the dogs. Let's talk about the dogs, Brendan. The dogs are the people that are in there no matter what, that are in the hobby no matter what, that are going to be loyal to the hobby no matter what, that are going to collect because they love to collect and they were born to collect because that's what they grew up with and it's their hobby. Or if it's something new that someone has found, they're still a dog because they're loyal to it and they're not worried about the money that they make on it. And if they make money, that's great. And if they lose money, that sucks and I hate it, but it happens, and that's the way the hobby goes. That's what being a dog is versus the sheep that want to sit around and wait for someone to tell them to do something and then all of a sudden baa and cry when it doesn't work out, or pigs who will sit there and say collecting Zion or collecting Peyton Pritchard or Kellen Mond or Jacob Eason and guys like that, where it's only benefiting them because if you put 2 and 2 together, it's because those are the players that they invested in. That's why they're telling you to invest in those players.
Yep.
So it's unfortunate that we have to step around a minefield nowadays, but at the same time, there's so much success going on in the hobby that I'm so invigorated for and excited about. And you know, to be able to have people come into the hobby, that's another blessing as well, because like I said, it all starts with the kids and it goes on and on and on. I was a kid one day, you were a kid one day, and we're always going to see new kids come into the hobby, and it's supposed to be building them up and try and give them a game plan. And I want, in my heart, I really want to be that uncle figure in this hobby where it's Uncle Benny, you know, he swears, he's vulgar, but he's a real dude and he cares about me. That's what I want people to look at me as. I don't want people to look at me as a used car salesman, or let me dig my hands in your pockets, or how can you help me? And then once you help me, I'm good on that. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I want to do. And that's why I want to be here, is to kind of guide the next hobby generation towards the light, where you can be happy collecting your favorite player and making money and not be stressed out about it. People shouldn't be taking mental health breaks because of sports cards. There's no reason why everyone's stressed out or scamming or worried about the person standing next to them, or, you know, how can I, you know, grade this card, and when it comes back a 7, I'll end up blowing my top like Benny used to. Man, I started to look at all that stuff like I'm really getting angry because a piece of paper that I love, but a piece of cardboard with a player's image on it with ink is in a protective sleeve the wrong way. That's why I'm upset? No, we need to take breaks sometimes. And I feel like the best break that could have happened for the hobby, and this is hopefully all tying in together, the best break, all these breaks, the best break that could have happened for the hobby are the people that were really not into this hobby for the love, for the passion, for the success. They were in it for the greed and they were in it for the money, and all those people have left now. So all we're left with are all the good people. And that's why I love each and every single one of y'all, because you still love Benny and Benny still loves you, baby. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science, baby.
That's it. And I'm sure a lot more people are going to love you after this episode, man. It was great, honestly. Benny, man, I want to thank you so much for jumping on. What I want to do is give you the opportunity to let everyone know where they can find you, either a business endeavor or to ask you questions, or so that you can be Uncle Benny for them as well.
Absolutely. You guys can follow me on Instagram, GARNETSPORTSCARDS, GARNET Sports Cards. You can follow me on eBay as well. That's where a lot of the different stuff that I have for sale is always available nowadays. I kind of leaned off of the Instagram side of the selling point because I really want to be on Instagram to talk to you guys, to answer questions, to post funny content, or what I think is funny, even though people are like, well, dude, what's wrong with this guy? He's saying good morning at 6 p.m. at night. It's darker than hell out. Why is he saying good morning? You know, I want to leave questions for those people. That's why Uncle Benny's here. So follow me on Instagram, Garnet Sports Cards. You can check me out over on eBay. I'm always going to be the man of the people, no matter what anyone wants to say. I'm always going to be your Uncle Benny. I always love you tremendously, and it's shit's never going to change. It's never been rocket science, silly. I hope that things were made or points were made clear by me. I know I'm a little out of the loop and everywhere,
you were
but
good.
I hope it was a good podcast, and I'm so happy you invited me on, brother. And I hope there's many more coming soon. I would love to have a Benny's Corner on the Coach Co Cardboard Coach podcast, man. I'm telling you.
I love that, man. I love that. Team, I mean, thanks again. Honestly, like I said, your perspective is invaluable. I think that, I mean, your personality is invaluable. You are invaluable to this hobby, bro. So I appreciate the hell out of you. Team, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Cardboard Coach. You heard the man. Please go follow Garnet Sports Cards. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Coach Co and Benny are out of here. Peace.